This is a meeting of the Metropolitan Area Planning Agency Board of Directors, and it'll be conducted in compliance with the Nebraska statutes of the Open Meetings Act. For reference, the Open Meetings Act is posted on the west wall of the boardroom. Liz, we will start with roll call.
Supervisor Scott Belt.
Here.
Commissioner Angie Burmeister. Commissioner Roger Garcia.
Here.
Mayor Rusty Hyde.
Here.
Mayor Doug Pindick.
Here.
Councilmember Don Rowe. Mayor Gene Stother. Jacqueline Morrison. Supervisor Carol Benton. Mayor Matt Walsh.
Here. And if I could have a motion for approval of the agenda?
So, second, Bill.
If there's no discussion, Liz?
Belt.
Aye.
Garcia.
Yes.
Hyde.
Yes.
Morrison. Yes. Walsh.
Yes.
Pindick.
Yes, item C is to approve the agenda, the board minutes from the August 22 meeting. I could have a motion.
So move, Bill. Second, Nick.
There's no discussion. Please vote.
Belt.
Aye.
Garcia.
Yes.
Hyde.
Yes.
Morrison. Yes. Walsh.
Yes.
Pindick.
Thank you.
A
Yeah.
few minutes late.
I don't know where things.
She'll be here in a minute. She said she was late.
Thanks, Liz.
I got it. Is it gonna, can you click in?
We'll
There we go.
Step right into Mike's reports.
Okay, so a few items to update you on. So I talked about this at the last couple of meetings, but the ongoing 6 Regions 1 Nebraska project from the Department of Economic Development here in Nebraska keeps chipping away. I've sent some emails around to folks just to keep you apprised of the things that are going on. The Southeast region, kind of the second big meeting, was held over at UNL today for Cass County, which is part of the Southeast Nebraska Community College region. And then the Metro Community College region is going to be held on October 9th. That's our annual meeting day, but it's from 9 to 2 over at the Valmont offices out on West Dodge. And so again, kind of those challenge areas, you know, the Southeast region focused a lot about mindset shift. So kind of changing the narrative about that particular region and then really focusing on infrastructure. In the metro area, the challenge area is really about housing production, kind of at all levels, affordability, and then really this workforce talent attraction piece. And so there's committees operating for each of those challenge areas. If you're interested in getting plugged in or having your staff get plugged into those, let us know. We have all of the calendar events. We're passing them around to people as we see interest. And so again, it's the Greater Omaha Chamber of Commerce that's really running the Metro Region one. So there's a number of local contacts to reach on that one as well. On other NDED news, there was an announcement yesterday and some emails today that the NDED is hosting housing listening sessions. And so this is part of their consolidated plan for the state. They do this every 5 years. They evaluate all of their housing programs, you know, everything from CDBG to home to some of the FEMA housing assistance programs that they receive funding for. And so if you want to register, there's a QR code here on your screen that you can grab that registration. Otherwise, you know, if your staff probably have all received this, but just a good reminder to take part on October 18th. And I think, or no, registration is required by the 18th. This meeting's held at in Omaha. I think it's on the 26th of October, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't put the date of the actual Omaha session on here, but if you follow the link, you see it all in there. And apologies for that. I thought I had the right date on there.
That's all right. Liz, would you mind sending an email out just to make sure that we got it at our level? Can you do that with the link?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is a big opportunity. It's obviously every 5 years, and part of the listening session is to understand what gaps there are. So, you know, these programs, they change, the implementation of them changes, particularly around the guidance that the states receive from HUD, but the states have a lot of flexibility in how they approach those programs as well. And so hearing from stakeholders and users is really important, and we're going to make sure to get it out to all the membership as well. So Council Plus 5210 program. So we're going into the second year of this project and really leaning on a large grant that the Western Pottawatomie County Extension Office received around obesity and active living. The two projects really mesh very, very well together. And so one of the things that group tackled with a number of stakeholders from across Council Bluffs was a walk audit and audit of walkability, kind of walking around certain areas, having folks in wheelchairs, folks with strollers to understand the challenges, and city staff was there folks from the Chamber and 712 Initiative and the Housing or Human Services Advisory Council were all there. And so just kind of an interesting, productive conversation about active living in Council Bluffs, and more to come on that, but it's a really good partnership there with ISU Extension. I presented at Sarpy County Economic Outlook. I think a couple of you were there, talked about the Western Sarpy County Transportation Enhancement Plan and MAPA's support of that. Ultimately, you know, that project is getting into the final stages here where each member community, whether it's Gretna, Springfield, Papillion, or Sarpy County, is going through the process of adopting those recommendations into their comprehensive plan. So again, it's kind of a plan for all of the arterials and collectors in southwestern Sarpy County as the region continues to grow in that direction, getting all the communities on the same page about those corridors, the context, what they look like in a rural section, what they look like in an urban section, and really kind of laying out that investment plan so that as development happens, they can actually pay for those facilities. So
Mike, I was gonna ask you
Yeah.
on that because the picture obviously of mass transit's on there. Is that all part of the plan? Has the cities has like La Vista and Gretna been looped in on that as far as the mass transit will affect us?
yes, so it's not planning for transit operations, but if you look at the comprehensive plans of Papillion in particular, they have like Capehart Road identified as a transit corridor. So as we identified that corridor and looked at what the future would look like on that, we wanted to make sure that it was, if transit is operated on that in the future, that the design accommodates that. So it's really about the street specifications and ensuring that we're not putting something that's going to create conflicts, but it's really driven by the context of those land use plans. So if La Vista, Papillion, those communities come together and they say, hey, this is really important, or Bellevue, you're doing your own plans on Fork Brook Road, a lot of it's going to be driven by land use planning and context. This is just to make sure that the streets that have been identified already for future transit service, or at least that kind of mixed use nodal development, don't preclude transit from happening. So that's the main thing. That's a great question. And I would note too, you've got bikes on there. So a lot of this is about side paths as well. You know, some street configurations have a side path on one side. The more urban sections obviously have wider sidewalks on both sides. So a lot of context driven stuff, which is that complete streets approach. And can you click back in, Christina? I think it's stopped working. Okay. So October 2nd, there's going to be a public workshop for the Council Bluffs linkages project. So this is that evaluation of a new multimodal bridge over the Missouri River, kind of connecting the urban core across the Missouri River into Council Bluffs. This is a study that MAPA is leading in close partnership with the city of Council Bluffs. That public workshop is really going to be almost like a planning charrette occurring in the afternoon. There's a presentation happening between 6 and 7 to really think about, you know, all the challenges, all the constraints, all the different factors that are affecting really kind of that west end of Council Bluffs and in downtown Omaha. How can we bring the two things together, and what role does an infrastructure like a bridge play in all of that? And so again, another QR code if you want to provide input, see more information about the meeting, or see a great video from Mayor Matt Walsh talking about the project and its importance. You can check out that microsite right there as well. And we can send that out to Mayor just so that you have it in your inbox. But again, it's a regional study. Council Bluffs is really kind of supporting it and supporting that conversation about that bridge and that connection between the two communities, but it impacts the region as a whole. It's a very significant project. So MAPA in the news, I wanted to give some kudos here to Supervisor Vinton, who is inducted into the 4-H Hall of Fame, which is no small thing. So congratulations to you and your late husband for that recognition.
Thank you.
We don't have much MAPA related news, so we've got to celebrate the news that we do have. And then some of you may have seen earlier this week, I was actually nominated for and got to accept the Design Achievement Award for Iowa State, which is very strange. I am a graduate of the College of Design. I don't really see myself as a designer, but it's a great honor. And actually, if you look back, there's a lot of planning people that get this award. So I feel like I'm in good company. So it's exciting. We'll be over in Ames to celebrate that in early November. So pretty exciting on that front too.
November what is when you accept your
The first. Yeah. So I get to miss Halloween again, which is just now making me popular in the Helgerson household. But Christina, this thing's not working now. So I don't know what happened there. Do you mind advancing one more slide, Christina? And then obviously saving the date for our annual dinner in October 9th over in Council Bluffs, hosting that at the Holiday Inn at the Ameristar. We've got Kevin Bell from the Rails to Trails Conservancy. Kevin was in Lincoln earlier this week for the Nebraska Bike Walk Summit. and talking about the Great American Rail Trail. He and a group of national journalists then biked from Lincoln to Council Bluffs, actually, along the Great American Rail Trail, across the MOPAC trail gap, and kind of evaluating that. And you may have seen that the legislature appropriated about $8 million to that. And then ending on First Avenue, kind of the latest piece of the rail trail to get completed. And so this project, it's already being kind of built in our region. We're doing a workshop on October 9th as well over in Potawatomi County to look at the gaps to the east of Council Bluffs and what plans exist for that. So just a lot of energy and excitement around it. Excited to have Kevin here to talk a little bit about that national vision, what it means to connect into that, and how other communities are leveraging that to support trail development. So please join us if you're available.
Exciting.
And then Christina, I think one more slide. Okay, we can move on to the next slide if you're ready, Mayor.
You bet, go right with it.
Okay, well, this is, we've had a lot of these and I love it. But we get to celebrate 5 years of service from Jody Woolery, who's our art director. So if you see anything that MAPA does that's in print, whether it's our calendars, whether it's our annual report, whether it's graphics that go on social media, Jody's likely had a hand in it or overseen it. And I think you'll agree with me that the visual work that MAPA does, I mean, it's never been better, it's never been stronger. And that's really a kudos to Jody and her vision. She always approaches it differently. I don't know how she has it, but very creative. We're very appreciative for everything you've done. And thank you, Jody, for keeping a high standard on that front for us. So very appreciative.
Thank you, Jody.
And so we'll do a picture after this meeting with Mayor Kindig as well. So, but thank you very much.
You say you're a very creative individual. Would we have like an impromptu song and dance?
Stay on my lane with the ground.
Congratulations.
You do a great
Jody.
job, Jody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good.
Cool, glad to hear
Great
that.
family, I agree.
So, agenda item, E is public comments. I don't see anyone in the audience. Do we have phone calls or anything, Liz? All right, moving on to agenda item F is the consent agenda. Unless you would like to remove one of the items, I would take a motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any further discussion or questions? Liz?
Bill, Garcia,
Yes.
Height,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Benton,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
Kindig.
Yes. Under agenda item G is old business. We have one item, which is a resolution for the 25-03 TIP program.
Yep, so
Mike?
Cool.
Oh,
That one's the Michael, yeah?
sorry, my bad.
Mike.
Yeah.
So we have 3 items on this new First Amendment for the fiscal year 2025 TIP. The first one is the document revision put in from MAPA. This is basically just updating our amendment revision thresholds to be in alignment with the new NDOT's TIP guidelines that came out not too long ago. And we have 2 fiscal impact additions that were added. One is from the city of Bellevue for their Cornhusker Road 36th Street to Fort Brook Road corridor study. This is adding a general planning phase and the into the TIP in fiscal year 25. Additionally, from the city of Omaha for their signal operations, West Maple Road and 4th Street, we also have another general planning phase added to the TIP in fiscal year 25.
Any questions for Michael?
Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
And does anyone have further discussion or questions? Liz?
Bill, Garcia,
Yes.
Height,
Aye.
Morrison,
Yes.
Benton,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
Kindig.
Yes. Item H is new business. We, Michael, this is you, on contracts.
Yep, this is me. This is the other Mike. So this is a contract as part of our Safe Streets and Roads for All program. One of the things that we included in our application and been working through is really partnering with community-based organizations to support our outreach. Part of this is that the outreach that we do, oftentimes we kind of ramp up for a plan and we're not able there to sustain it. And we're kind of teaching people about what we're trying to get input from them on as we go. And so one of the strategies that we've been using in other planning processes is to really try to partner with organizations that can carry that message kind of through their work. And so One Omaha is the latest example of this. So this is a scope of work for $14,945 to really assist with that community outreach, really kind of facilitating some meetings and some other work across the North and South Omaha, really East Omaha more generally, and really partnering with neighborhood associations and getting that input from a granular level about traffic safety issues and concerns from those areas. We had a similar partnership with 712 Initiative. Luckily, though, our real impact and work with 712 Initiative and Council Bluffs fit right into what they were already doing with events, and so they didn't really require us to compensate them for that, but that partnership is helping us on really kind of aligning this work with everything that's going on in Council Bluffs as well. So with your recommendation today, we would move forward with contracting with One Omaha for that work.
Would I have a motion for approval for item 1?
So moved.
Is there further discussion or questions? Liz?
Bill. Garcia. Pike. Morrison.
Yes.
Vincent.
Yes.
Walsh. Kent.
Yes. Item B is resolution number 24-04, reconnecting communities pilot program grant application. Mike.
Yes, so this is an application for a program under the new infrastructure bill. So this is a program that looks at transportation infrastructure that divides communities. So Bellevue's applied for this program for a couple of years now for their Fort Crook Road corridor and really looking to implement their parks master plan. One project that we've been working on here over the last 2 years has been this Thriving Communities partnership between the City of Omaha, Spark, and NDOT, really looking at North Omaha, particularly around the North Freeway, and trying to understand with all the work that the City of Omaha is leading, all the work that community organizations are leading in North Omaha, what role does NDOT and that North Freeway play in kind of realizing that vision? And so it's not a conversation that was happening. We received that Thriving Communities Technical Assistance Award to basically have a consultant matched with us to support some of the outreach. They've partnered with, again, kind of community organizations to support some of that work. We're about 6 months into that at this point. But what we had always intended with the end of that technical assistance was applying for this grant program because this actually provides resources that we anticipate would be useful to implement the recommendations that come out of that technical assistance. So last year we applied, we were not successful. And because largely we said, we're waiting for this technical assistance program to get done. We don't know what's even happening yet, but we want to have resources to implement. This year though, USDOT changed quite a few things about the notice for funding. One thing being that they combined the remaining years of the program all into one NOFA. So this is kind of the last shot under this infrastructure bill to pursue these funds. We were actually not going to apply this year because we thought, let's wait till the actual technical assistance gets done. But if we don't do this, there's no sure thing that these resources will become available again unless that program is reauthorized under a new bill. And it really is the program to fit that need that we've seen identified. And so beyond just looking at the North Freeway and what could be done to kind of mitigate that, whether that's new connections, whether that's caps, whether that's bringing development closer, a lot of what the conversation has been is about the role of increasing the availability of housing in the neighborhood, kind of bringing back what was taken away from the construction of the North Freeway. So housing and businesses and kind of restoring some of that fabric of the community. And so this fits in very closely with the Vision Zero strategy for the City of Omaha and implementing and kind of thinking about that neighborhood edge and what we see. But it's ultimately a great partnership between NDOT, MAPA, and Omaha to kind of secure resources to continue this planning. Proposed project is a feasibility study, kind of a planning and environmental linkages study to see what is possible. We don't know what those designs are or will look like. The purpose of the plan is to really identify what's reasonable and can be carried forward, if anything. And so these resources would help us do that. And this resolution is actually the support that's required to apply for this program, which the applications go in, I think, early next week, if I'm not mistaken. Happy to answer any questions. It's kind of one of these things. We've been updating you on the Thriving Communities program, but happy to give you an update on this. Supervisor, oh, go ahead.
No, go. Someone else have a question? No.
I thought so, but maybe not.
So I have a couple of questions. Is it a planning grant that we're applying for? Like what's the meat of our application? And the reason I need to understand this more is we were approached by another organization to partner with them on an application. And I have said we're working with MAPA, so I need to be able to describe exactly what we're doing and why we're doing that. And so can you talk a little bit more? So I know through Thriving Communities, we're doing some planning. Is this another grant to prepare us for a more formal application? What are we asking for?
Yeah, so this is, what we're doing with Thriving Communities is really, I would say, very much just community engagement. You know, it's looking at some visualization, trying to help people understand what strategies might be applicable. The resources in this grant would be to actually start an actual planning study, looking at project alternatives, what different actual projects in the corridor. So very much like conceptual engineering of different strategies on the North Freeway corridor. How does that fit in with the safety strategies that have already been identified through Vision Zero? The bike ped plan, all of those things. And so there's a lot of pieces where this gets into actual project development versus just the community engagement that's been happening so far. And at a feasibility level, not anything that would be able to be built today.
And how are we defining the 75 corridor? Like what does that encompass?
Yeah, I don't know if that's in the resolution, but it's the North Freeway and it's a mile on each side. And so that's been the study area that we used for Thriving Communities. So kind of east and west, 1 mile each direction. But I would say the input that we've received has mostly been within, 6 to 10 blocks. It hasn't been within that mile radius, but that's the proposed planning area.
And then one more question I had is, I think we applied for this before.
Yep.
And part of us doing the Thriving Communities was to be prepared to apply again. And if we haven't finished that work, how are we better positioned this time than we were before if we haven't finished that work?
That is a very good question. And so part of the so we did a debrief with USDOT, and part of the debrief that we had was really about the state's investment and involvement in the program. They provided a letter of support last year, but up until that point, they hadn't really been a part of the Thriving Communities work. They've been invited, but not really kind of a core partner in that. I mean, that's changed over the last 6 to 9 months. I know you were at the meeting in North 24th Street where we had Vicki Kramer, the director of NDOT there, talking about, the need to do this work and kind of accelerate these types of strategies to take advantage of the resources that are available through the infrastructure bill. So the partnership that we have with NDOT this time is much stronger. I don't know that it's enough. Kind of the feedback is they wanted to see what was actually being considered, but I think we're trying to honor what is happening through that engagement is that when these resources are available in 2026, which is the year we're applying for, that work will have been done. We'll have time to actually understand what we want to carry forward, what we want to look at. And this is really about not having another year or two gap between the end of this project and the resources being available. But that's a great question.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mike? If not, could I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second, Mike.
Liz?
Bell. Garcia.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
Morrison.
Yes.
Benson.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Davis.
Yes. We've only got one more item, and that's a update from Mike on Pacific Junction.
Yes, so before you have kind of a brief memo, and I guess it's up on the screen as well. Kind of going over some recent changes. So, we've updated this board, I think, several times over the last couple of years, just about the back and forth with the city of Pacific Junction about MAPA's role as the administrator of some of the housing programs. These are buyouts of homes that were impacted by the floods of 2019. So MAPA was the administrator of both funds on the HUD CDBG side as well as the HMGP side. And so we've had a lot of discussions about Finance Committee nearly every month just about those unpaid invoices and our work to coordinate with the city on those administrative costs as well as our state partners. Those grants have been in the closeout period now for about a year and a half, really, in terms of the state kind of adding 6 months to the grant closeout period as they go through their monitoring and evaluation of everything. And so, we're closer. I won't go through each thing in the bullets here. We're closer on some pieces, but one thing that has come to our attention and that wanted to draw special attention to is that, as part of the CDBG grant program, MAPA prepared a draw request as part of our administrative responsibilities that included $53,000 worth of administrative costs due to MAPA that was done with the city of Pacific Junction. Ultimately, the city clerk submits that into the online platform that was submitted in August of 2022. Those funds were received by the city of Pacific Junction in October of 2022, but never paid to MAPA. And so as we have gone through this process of the closeout process with the state, we brought this to their attention. And we really are no closer to an answer on the status of those funds. But in those conversations and MAPA's role in preparing that statement to the state partner, we feel that we're not certain of where those funds are or if they're available. And so it's something that we feel we need to bring to the attention of the state auditor. And so that's really where MAPA in our role as administrator, and really in our role of making a representation to a state agency about what those funds are going to be used for. We can't document the status of those funds. And so it's something that we've been weighing. We didn't know, but in those recent conversations that I've documented here, we know enough that we're concerned. And so it's a concern that we're going to start a conversation with the state auditor about what needs to happen. And so again, there's been a lot of developments over the last month. I think, part of our concern has been that ensuring that while the grants are open, that we're continuing this conversation in support of that. You see some of that here in this memo that we've done that. But, this concern just goes to MAPA staff role as the administrator, MAPA staff role in acting ethically in this type of a position where we can't verify anything about it, but it's enough of a concern that we need to move forward with something more direct in coordination with the state. And so happy to answer any questions about this project. It's a very long process. The homes have been bought out, I think, since Grant, you made 2022, I think was the last purchase.
Since March of
2023, yes. So it's been, the work has been done in, MAPA's portion of this work is once a house is closed on and it's bought out, that administrative fee is due to MAPA. And so there's a lot of history on that side of things, but the funds in large part have not been requested on the CDBG side of things, save for this $53,000. And we have not been paid for that, but we don't know what the status of those funds are.
The last two bullet points, it
Yes.
references 90,000 of administrative funds due MAPA and 53,250 due MAPA. Is that number inclusive in the 90,000 or
No.
is it cumulative of the 143,250?
Yep, so the 90,000 is from HMGP funds. And so we verified back in, I want to say March or April, that had been submitted to the state. Kind of the narrative up here at the top line, where Karina learned that all of the sort of FEMA related funds were being held up as these invoices were being reviewed. That 90,000 was caught up in that decision, and that kind of started this latest round of engagement with our state program officers. But that 90,000, the program officer has noted that those draw requests are moving forward. But again, there's this concern that those funds, once they're reimbursed to the city, making sure they get paid to MAPA is a big piece of that, because that's something that it doesn't come to us directly. The 53,000 is separate. It's with CDBG, so that's HUD funding, separate program, separate contract, similar in scope, just different funding source, different state agency that's involved. And it's the 53,000 that the city has received back in October of 2022 that has not been paid to MAPA.
The city, I would think, would have to have an audit either by the state or by independent auditor for 7 years.
Well, they are currently going through multiple years of audits. It is a requirement, though, of these federal funds that they have. Yeah. Yep. And so they're going through that process. I think they secured an audit firm to assist with 3, maybe 4, it's probably 5 years at this point of audits, fiscal years, because I know they were starting with, I think FY29 or FY19. I don't know which year of those audits that they're in, but I do know that they've engaged an audit consultant from Papillion to do that work. But we've never been contacted by that firm in any capacity about that.
It's crazy.
If the numbers don't add up, it is.
Well, yeah, but,
That-
tracking the federal, the state money should be pretty darn easy.
Mike didn't mention, but when I talked to him,
That went to-
well,
Yeah, I
they
think,
got everything in one account.
Well, do we,
And
and another question I have is, isn't that a service we provided, and are there other people not being paid that we may be liable for?
So we do not handle that side of it. So the administration that we provided was on the actual buyouts of the houses, basically getting them to closing. In most cases, when we have an administrative contract for CDBG, say, we also would have access to the online platform to manage the draw requests and things like that. Whatever agreement we struck back in 2020, I believe is when the original agreement was done, did not include that. And the city has not been willing to provide that throughout the course of it. And so it puts us in a little bit of a strange position that we're not in kind of the normal position we are to sort of oversee it, which is difficult. And again, we're not really controlling our own destiny. Each of those steps would always require the local to sign off on it. But in the preparation of it, the maintenance of it, being able to monitor it, we're a little bit in the dark. And so that's where this kind of additional step of coordination has had to come in with the locals.
Have all the property owners been paid?
I believe so, yeah, yeah. So everything's closed out. And as we noted in the 9-page memo of sort of invoice concerns, the documentation that MAPA was responsible had already previously been provided. I just don't think they were able to track it down in the large file structure.
Project activity probably since June.
Mhm.
That's when the last round.
Yep, yep.
I know that Mike inherited this actually before he even came on. This was some problems that we had with Pacific Junction, and one of the first things Mike did when he took over as executive director is went down, I think, with Carl at the time and tried to smooth that over and stuff. But the amount of time and contacts and emails and personal visits, and we're not getting any answers. And the next step is to contact the auditor, in my mind.
Yeah, and I mean, part of it too, from our perspective, we had no reason to be concerned from an ethical standpoint until recently, where we just don't know you could chalk it up to, just disagreements about
Right.
the performance of the work. But at this point, we're in a position where we know enough to be concerned, and so we're recommending taking that appropriate action.
Anybody have any other questions for Mike on this?
So is we have discussed with the state auditor? We have-
No, so this came out of the discussion with Finance Committee. So Supervisor Benton asked that it be a discussion here at the board today. But we'll be doing that after board meeting today.
Just done great. He's looking for the PR, so that'll work good.
All right, we don't have any additional business unless there's comments from the board.
The only thing I would
Go
note,
down to PJ and Mark.
yeah, the only thing I'd note is just extending that, is just extending that invitation once again to our council of officials meeting. I think a number of you are already registered, but
Right,
happy to have you in Council Bluffs on October 9th.
looking forward to it. If there's
Absolutely.
nothing else, that was a short meeting for us. I will call the meeting adjourned and wish everybody a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
Get your